is on.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to this episode of Chill with Jim. I would like to thank everyone for coming out. At Chill with Jim, it is always business up top and pajamas on the bottom. So again, thank you everybody for joining us. We have a really good Chill with Jim episode today with a special guest. I will get into that after we do our little Strix intro here. My name is Jim McCarthy and I am your host. I am the client advocate for Strix, Louisiana. So it's my job to make sure that our clients have the best software, equipment, and the best IT solutions set up and in place. We also have David DeArmond with us.
Hey, I am David DeArmond, owner of Strix LA, and I guess as owner, it is my job to go out and find people like Courtney that do some amazing things and then steal from them so that we can do it too.
I think it's borrowing is the word that we're looking for.
My bad.
So we have Candace on the line. I don't know if she's at a place where she can hop on in.
I am. I've got quiet for about 5 seconds. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Courtney, hi to you. So glad to be on with you. I was hoping I could make it today because part of my job for Strix is handling marketing and things of that nature, some admin stuff. So I'm super stoked to see what you have today for us.
All right. I'm glad to share and I'm glad to get a chance to talk to you again. We'll have to exchange secrets after this whole thing.
Yes, you will. So a little bit about Strix. We believe that there's always a better, simpler, more secure way to do just about everything in this world. So what that means for us is we're constantly looking for the best solution. We're adapting our processes and making sure that the solutions we do have in place are the absolute best for our clients and for our company as well. We would like all of our clients to be running at optimal efficiency. So that is part of our search and part of our mission, honestly. So some of that we believe is education. We like to educate our clients as well as others out there on some of the current resources they have, some of the IT trends we have going on, and about once a month we like to bring in a specialist, a special guest, who definitely can help other companies and other people grow their business. And that's what we're doing today. We have Courtney Sparkman with Officer Reports. He is here to talk about how he makes these amazing, awesome marketing videos. So, Courtney, I'll go ahead and let you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, again, thank you for the introduction, and thank you guys for having me on. It's a pleasure, and you guys absolutely do a great job at what you do. All right, so let me co-sign that up front. So I'm CEO of OfficerReports.com. We are a software as a service company, and we service security guard companies globally. A bit of a serial entrepreneur. This is actually my 5th company. Before this one, the largest company that I had was a security guard company, which really kind of jettisoned me into kind of what we're doing now, which is helping security guard companies deal with their remote employees. And that's in terms of communication, making sure they're accountable, and kind of attendance. So again, software company trying to do big things.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you taking the time to join us. A little bit about today. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually show one of the amazing videos that the Strix team picked out because we really like it. We think it's funny, very educational. So we're going to start with that. Then we'll go into some questions relating to how Courtney creates meaningful videos with meaningful content that engages his customers. And then we'll go over to how he gets such good quality out of these videos. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and play one of Courtney's 3-minute Thursday videos. I'm going to share my screen. Everybody, let me make sure I turn the volume up here. Share the volume. All right. David, can you give me a thumbs up and make sure that you can hear everything?
I see it so far.
When your field supervisors are working, Does it look anything like this? Were you just sleeping? No, Lieutenant, I was just doing my rounds. Yeah. Well, your shirt's not ironed, your hair is too long, and those are not regulation shoes. What do your post orders say about your shoes? We don't have post orders. And whose fault is that? Well, it can't be my fault. I just started yesterday. Are you getting smart with me? No. No, I'm not. But I do have a question. Questions? You are getting smart. I'm writing you up. Be in the office Monday morning at 8 a.m. Who do you think you are? Questions. Ha! We all got questions. Remember who you work for. If that's your field supervisor, we need to talk. Welcome to another 3-Minute Thursday. For today's 3-Minute Thursday, we'll be talking about the proper way to use your field supervisors. So let's set the clock for 3 minutes and get going. Based on necessity, a lot of security companies use their field supervisors to check to see if their officers are awake and alert. I covered why that's an obsolete way to use field supervisors in a previous 3-Minute Thursday, so check out the video, Are Your Officers Awake and Alert?, over on our YouTube channel. Just to be clear, checking to make sure that your officers are awake and alert is an important job, but it's not one for your field supervisors. That's something that your tour tracking software should be doing. Got it? So if your field supervisor's primary role shouldn't be checking to see if officers are awake and alert, what should you be using them for? Well, first, how about using the field supervisors as a way of connecting to your officers? A study by Harvard Business Review shows that employees who don't interact with their colleagues over a long period of time can become less committed to your team and your organization and start looking for their next opportunity. In fact, I've seen statistics that show security officer turnover in the security guard industry is as high as 200%.
No! No!
What? No!
No! No. No, no.
No.
Which is a huge challenge for security companies who are trying to provide a consistent level of service. Second, your field supervisors should be providing ongoing training for your officers. As we all know, pulling your officers into the office for training is usually a non-starter because those hours are typically non-billable. So having your field supervisors providing ongoing training is a great way to ensure that your officers continue to grow and improve their skill set and their knowledge base. Lastly, you should use your field supervisors as your gauge on what is going on out in the field. What's the general attitude of your security force? Are they content? Are they worried? Is there talk about unionizing? And how are your customers doing? Are they satisfied with your services? What are your field supervisors seeing and hearing that you might not have good insight into? Field supervisors can be a powerful tool in your operations toolbox if used properly. If you are using your field supervisors for more than just checking to see if your officers are awake and alert, make sure to check officerreports.com's Field Supervisor Report, which ensures that your supervisors are actively engaging with your officers in a way that improves the overall quality of the services that you provide. With that being said, that's it for this week, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy the video, please click the like button below, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe because you would really be helping me out. Thanks everybody, see you next week, and stay safe.
Good stuff.
Woohoo! Man, so that's an example of one of his videos that we think is just great here at Strix. Just to let everyone out there know, Like Courtney's YouTube page right now, officersreports.com's YouTube page, they have over 4,300 subscribers. So it's not just how we feel. He is doing something right here, because that is a ton of people that you have following you to watch these amazing videos. So we're going to go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Courtney.
I mean, it's like literally really flattering, right? I just, there's no way in the world that I ever thought we would get to 4,000 plus people. I remember when we were back at 200 and I'm like, oh, I'm ruling the world. And here we are at 4,000. So yeah, like you said, I guess we're doing a couple of things right.
Yeah. I mean, you really are. The quality of these videos, things that's always stuck out to me are the characters that you create. And then the amount of humor you bring into it is great. So just to to kick things off, what's the general reason or your motivation when you first began making these videos? What called you into doing this?
You know, it's kind of funny. So this really goes back to when I first started my security guard company. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so when I first started my security guard company, I remember there was absolutely no assistance out there, for anyone looking to start a security guard company, right? So I struggled trying to figure it out, overcame hundreds, if not thousands of obstacles and challenges. And I remember thinking back then, you know, if I ever get in a position where I can help other people, you know, avoid some of these obstacles, I was going to do it. So, you know, fast forward, I ended up selling my company, went to work for another security guard company. That company got purchased, started this officer reports thing. And it was kind of at that time, you know, I was like, you know what? I think I've got some information to share about how you start a security guard company, you know, how you run a security guard company. And I started, you know, prolifically blogging, right? I mean, it was one blog a week. And what happened is it started to pick up steam. Right. So, I mean, there are people who are commenting. I see people coming to our website. They're consuming that content. And I'm like, okay, you know, maybe this is helping. Right. So, again, it kind of started with this blog. And as the blog continued to grow, you know, I noticed that, you know, people were really trying to go over to video content. Right. So I think most of us would probably rather watch content than have to sit down and read it, unless it's some type of technical, and even when it's a technical text, right? You would probably rather watch a video. So I got this idea, you know, I said, in addition to this blog thing, I'm going to try video. I'm going to try it. So when I first started, I really didn't start doing videos for the company, right? I was doing home movies, right? Because my idea was, I'm not letting anybody see this garbage that I put out. Not going to happen. So literally for a year, I'm doing videos of me around the house with my daughter and my wife acting silly. And I started to, you know, hone the skills, get a little better, home movies. And then I remember showing a home movie to somebody and that person said, wow, that was just like a regular movie. And when he said that, I'm like, and when he said that, I said, I'm ready. And that's what started me down the path of transitioning from, you know, written word to video. It's just, again, sharing information that a lot of security guard companies out there just don't have access to, because people aren't willing to share it.
That's a great cause. Being able to be a solution provider to those that are, you know, not even your clients, just to bring value to the world, man, that's a really good cause. David, looks like you have something to say. Oh, no?
And the funny thing about it, right? So that's kind of where it all started is, hey, I want to share these solutions with the world because I know it's going to help our customers and potential customers, so forth and so on. And then what starts to happen is people start to find you, right? And they're like, hey, I saw your video. Tell me about the software that you have, right? And then it starts to feed our actual business. You know, again, not that it started out that way, but that's the way it ended up, right? So right now, you know, I have a sales guy who gets on the phone with people all the time. And they're like, man, where's that Courtney guy at? I want to talk to him, you know? So it's funny. So I remember the first time I got on the phone with a prospect, you know, somebody that just happened to cold call, right? Just looking for some business. And he stopped and said, I know your voice. I'm like, no, I've never called you before. So no, it couldn't be me. He was like, no. Are you that guy that does those videos? I mean, seriously, out of the blue, he knew me. So, I mean, I think that's when it kind of set in and with me to say, hey, you know, the voice is getting out there and people are getting stuff out of this. And we hear that consistently, which is the reason that we kind of continue doing them.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna ask, you know, how your videos help your company, but you just explained it, you know.
If you don't mind me throwing in, you know, I like to talk. So if I get to going too much, just cut me off.
No worries.
But one of the things that, you know, I kind of noticed, right? So when I was making the transition from security guard company up to software company, the way that we picked up business with the security guard company was a lot of calling, right? Cold calling and email and networking, that whole deal, which worked because most of my customers were in my locale. I could do that. I could get up, go knock on the door. But once we started this software company, the thinking was that doesn't work anymore, right? Because we have customers everywhere. I want customers in California, Texas, Louisiana, Illinois, New York, so forth and so on. And being able to jump on a plane and go to all these places doesn't work, especially for small companies, right? So all of a sudden it's, you know, what can we do to try to add this multiplier to our efforts? And what I really discovered was, man, social media, content curation, videos, podcasts, all that stuff, you know, are really heavy, you know, they're heaven sent for small businesses, right? Because generally we don't have the resources to really throw toward marketing and advertising and throwing up commercials, doing the Super Bowl, you know, we're not going to do that. But, you know, social media and, you know, content and videos give us a chance to talk to more people than we normally would have the ability to.
Man, it's a great way of looking at it. I know that honestly through a lot of these Chill with Jim episodes, you know, we've started, it's been a few months now, but that's kind of where we're going with, we wanted to be a solution provider, but then to always kind of be front of mind for people, you know, and, oh yeah, I remember they did this funny video or they did this episode about that. Seems like you know, you built up this momentum starting with these videos. So I'm glad that guy made the comment of, this is like a real movie, because I don't know if we'd be seeing it because you'd be still super self-conscious about it. So what, you know, how, I guess for me, when I've been looking at these, you know, how do you choose video topics that are relevant and engage your clients? There's a lot of information out there. How do you narrow it down to making sure like people relate?
That's a great question. And I think what has really helped me more than anything else is the fact that I have lived in the shoes of my customers, right? I owning a small business and getting that small businesses to grow is a tough thing, right? It is extremely difficult. And you can't count on two hands and your toes how many challenges that you've overcome. So you get what it is, or I get what it is to run a small business, right? I can look back on my 8 years running a security guard company, and sometimes it's just like, I can't believe that happened, right? And so when I got out of school, I worked as a DJ at a comedy club, right? And one of these comedians said, the funniest stories, the funniest jokes are always going to come from real life experiences. So essentially, I just took that, right? That advice, you know, focus on real life experience. You don't have to make anything up. So I just look back, you know, over my years running that security guard company, of all the crazy things that upset me at that point and had me almost in tears. And now I can look back and laugh at. And that's where the content comes from. Or, you know, originally that was it. I was like, you know, I'm going to bare my soul, you know, tears and all. And once that started, people started to connect, right? Because as a small business, when you hear some of these stories, it's like, yeah, I get that. As a matter of fact, I got a call from one of my customers probably about a week ago. And he said, Courtney, I just wanted to call you and let you know I'm laughing so hard over here that I'm crying. right? And it was a video where I talked about getting your first contract, right? Because I know when I got my first contract, you know, I was cabbage patching, you know, it was the running man. I had a ball, and I did a video on it and had this little dancing baby in the video, which again kind of portrayed, you know, your whole attitude. And he said when he saw that, it took him back to his first contract. He said, man, that was exactly it. So yeah, again, a lot of this is just based on life experience. And secondly, we talk to a lot of security guard companies every week. And what you start to hear is kind of the same stories from these guys. You know, so you'll have 15 people talk about, hey, you know, the challenges of coronavirus, and they'll tell you their stories. And from there, I can say, okay, you know what? I'm going to take that and tell that as a story, because if those 15 guys are going through it, then a lot more are. So, you know, I kind of crowdsource.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of research out there. A lot of the expert salespeople do say, you know, you're gonna get your most relevant information about your customers, about your new prospects through the customers you already have and engaging with them. So this back and forth that you get, it must load you up with quite a bit. You know, I was gonna ask, where do you get the inspiration for your characters and the themes, but you kind of just answered that as well. I think some of these characters, that supervisor we saw with saying your hair is too long and you have no hair on your head. I feel like that's a real person.
Absolutely was. Absolutely. As I'm doing that, I mean, so I had a field supervisor, and in the security industry, right, it's this battle between people believing you're in the service industry and that you're a paramilitary organization. And I had this one supervisor that was squarely on the side of paramilitary organization, and that was him. Right, you know, not to fault him, you know, everybody thinks that they're doing the right thing, but oh man, he was a taskmaster. So yeah, when I was doing that one, I'm channeling that guy.
That's so funny. Yeah, and I could, some of those characters you play, I'm just like, that's got to be someone he's known. That's someone or someone who picks up the phone and you're talking to, and you're like, oh, it's gonna fit perfect in my video.
So have you had anyone call you up and be like, dude, I saw you portraying me. I know that video's about me.
Not yet.
4,000. You got to hit someone sooner or later.
All right. I'm gonna
plead the fifth.
No, that's not you. Of course.
They're gonna want royalties next thing you know. So, you know, once you've found the topic, once you have what you want to make this video all about, what's that process of planning out the video look like for you?
Yeah, I think that process has gotten a little more formal for me. So what it used to be is me trying to just come up with the stuff in my head and write down a couple notes and just go for it. But my brother, he's an aspiring writer and producer out in LA. Hey, shout out to my brother, Brian. And, you know, he's out here writing these scripts. So he let me read one of the scripts. And, you know, although I enjoyed the content, what I started to notice was how this thing was written. I'm like, oh my God, this is actually like a process map, right? So we're probably all familiar with the idea of a process map. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is the way that you get all this stuff out of your head onto paper so you don't miss a beat. Right, so generally speaking, once I get an idea for a video, it goes down on paper, right? And we start talking about scenes. I start thinking about what the lighting effects are going to be, what people need to be in it, and just actually write it out as a script. And kind of once you have that thing on paper, it's a lot easier, right? Because it's all spelled out and you don't have to worry about, you know, missing anything. So it's definitely gotten a lot more formalized.
That's nice. Yeah, I know we love systems here. So if you can make it into a system like that,
that's right.
You know, next video you make, if you're out of town or something, and you can just hand that system over so someone can pick up where you left off. Probably not as good an actor as you are, though.
But you know, so, and I'm probably jumping the gun here, and we'll talk about this at some point. But what I also noticed is that, so for 4 years, 3-4 years now, I've been doing all these videos essentially on my own, right? So it's my equipment, it's my software, so forth and so on. And I always believed, which is kind of funny, oh, there's no one who can do a video as well as I can. I'm like, I'm not an artist. Come on, stop that, Courtney. So just recently, probably 4 or 5 months ago, I tried to hire an outside editor. And what I noticed was, like you were saying, by me being, usually I shoot the video, right? That's me. I shoot the video, the script, the whole deal. But I pass those notes, the script notes, with the video to this editor. And based on the editing notes, he was actually able to do the video on his own, right? Which is a huge time savings. So, you know, and I'm sure we'll talk about this, but I'm gonna jump the gun here. So when doing these videos, I think the toughest thing that there is, it's not the actual shooting the video, the characters, the script, it's the editing process. Oh my God. Now I understand why directors and editors make so much, okay? It is a long, long process. So like literally to get that typical 3-minute video that I do, it's like an 8 to 12 hour process. Yeah. So, yeah, processes do help. Pass it to somebody else.
Man, that's great. Do you involve, like, when you're coming up with some of the script or jokes, do you involve like other people on your team or your family to kind of give it a test run? Like, hey, I got this kind of funny scene I want to do. What do you guys think about that? Or you just kind of roll with what you got in your head?
Man, I'm like the corniest person that I know, all right, by far. And I'm like, that amount of corn, I don't need to expose people to until after they need to, okay?
Okay.
So now, once I get the idea in the head, it's like, I'm just going to go for it. And generally speaking, actually, so after it's shot, I will let my wife see it, right? So she saved me a couple of faux pas here and there. So I do a video, I think it's absolutely hilarious. And she's like, well, when you look at that, you know, couldn't someone interpret it that you're saying this thing? And I'm like, no, of course not. Yeah, you're right. I better pull that out. But generally speaking, yeah, once it's shot, it gets exposed to the world.
Okay. Well, you know, and you touched on it already, but the quality of this production and some of the ins and outs of making this video, we definitely wanted to touch on for our audience. We got 3.7 million tuning in from Facebook right now. So what type of equipment are you using to get such a high quality video?
Yeah, so when I first started out, you know, I was using, and it's kind of funny. So as I study all these YouTube videographers, YouTube content producers and makers, the really good ones always kind of say the same thing. It's not about the equipment, right? And I didn't believe it, but it is. It's not about the equipment whatsoever. It really starts out with the story, right? So once you have the story in your head, you don't need that much equipment to get that onto video in a way that's kind of pleasing. So when I first started, it was just literally me and my iPhone. Once I had the iPhone, put that in a cradle with a stand. And I think the most important thing to producing good quality video is sound. Right, so anytime you're shooting a video, if you're doing it with your phone, if you've got a cheap camera, point and shoot, whatever it is, make sure that you get a good microphone. So generally speaking, all my microphones that I purchased are Rode, R-O-D-E. The original one that I got, I think it was the Rode Video Micro is the one I started with. And just based on my phone and that microphone, it was like, wow, this is actual phenomenal quality video. Right, so started moving down that path. Then bought some set lights, right? And those set lights probably cost me, you know, $100 for a pair of them. And they got the job done. But what starts to happen, right, is that you're doing these videos and you're watching other people do videos. And you start to see little things that they do. Oh, wow, look at that little lighting effect. Oh, wow, you know, look at that particular thing. How did he or she do that? And then you find out, oh, I need to buy this type of light, right? Or I need to buy this type of microphone. And then you start to upgrade equipment. But just to get started, you know, what I would say, use your smartphone, grab a microphone and some type of holder, and get some of these $100 set lights. And that's where you start. right? So that's all the equipment that you have. But over time, it will get expensive, because what starts to happen is you see the video content done by other people and you want your video to look like that, right? And you can't necessarily get it with the stuff that you have. And that's when you start upgrading. So right now, you know, I've invested way too much money in video equipment, way too much. I mean, you would not even imagine how much lights and cameras would cost, okay, until you really take a look. So upgraded equipment quite a bit. Most of my stuff is Canon cameras, but it's, you know, kind of mid consumer cameras. Right now, I think I'm shooting on a Canon 90D. Before that was a Canon 80D. In terms of lighting, you know, I usually go with aperture lights, and I've probably got 10 or 12 different types of lights, right? Small ones, big ones, colored ones. If you look over my corner of my shoulder there, that's one of the lights. So, you know, that's just kind of one of the things. But outside of the equipment, there's a software. So the software that I started with was a program called ScreenFlow, which is generally screen capturing, right? So with a software company, we did a lot of videos where we would capture the actual software in use and use that for our customers to show them how to use the software. Then I figured out that you could actually edit, you know, videos in there. And that's what I've been using for probably, you know, 7, 8 years. At some point I will upgrade to Adobe Premiere Pro, which is, you know, the video editing software packages that, you know, the real experts use, because you can do so many cool things with it, you know, and everybody wants to do cool things. So that's kind of my tool set.
Okay. And you mentioned post-process, you know, after you're done filming it, you did touch on it a little bit, but in the beginning, you were the guy editing. And I know I have friends who make music videos and do commercials and stuff, and they just say, like, you'll be staring at a screen for multiple hours trying to make those sound levels match up, trying to make the lighting work. So that's originally how you got started, was just editing in that program?
Yeah. That's exactly it. So, you know, I always thought in doing the videos and shooting the video that would be the hard part, right? That's going to be the long part. But literally, usually I shoot about 15 minutes worth of video to cut down to 3 minutes. That process of cutting from 15 or 20 minutes down to 3 is literally an 8 to 12 hour process. I mean, and if I was a person looking at that from the outside, it would be like, that can't be. It's not possible. But it absolutely is, and I'm here to testify, right? It takes a long time, right? So you're cutting and you're splicing, but what you can do with video editing software is absolutely incredible, especially when you know how to use it. So yeah, again, I understand why editors and directors get paid so much. It is a long, hard process. And by the time you're finished with it, you don't want to see the product anymore. You just...
So once you've created the video and you have your final product, what do you do to make sure it reaches your audience? And what are some of the platforms that you do advertise these videos on? We know the YouTube, but, you know, how do you really get it out there?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question. So again, I think social media is one of the greatest things that has ever happened to small companies, right? Because generally speaking, it's hard for you to find potential customers, you know, your tribe. It is, right? But by going virtual onto the interwebs, you're able to find people that have the same interests as you do, right? So for the past 7 years, I have been, you know, on a mission to try and find as many people as possible that live their lives the way that I do, you know, are interested in the things that I'm interested in. A lot of that is, you know, security industry. So it's, we've got a few thousand people, I think, who follow us on Twitter, a few hundred on Facebook, a few thousand on YouTube, in LinkedIn, which is probably the tool that I use the most. I've probably got 8,000 connections there. And again, these are not just people that I've paid some robot to connect me with, right? These are actual people in the security industry. So anytime I do content, I make sure I push it out across all those platforms, right? To get that first view. But what happens over time, which is kind of cool, is video content, any other content that you put out, is not for immediate consumption, right? Most of the stuff that you do is not going to be consumed immediately, right? It sits out in the world, on the web, and people find it, right? So the video that I do next week will be on our YouTube channel for the next 50 years. And what happens is someone finds some other video, right, that has nothing to do with this video, but they like what you said in that one video. And then all of a sudden, they're consuming your entire library, right? So again, it's just being in places where your potential customers are. And right now online, it's for us, it's really LinkedIn for me, right? LinkedIn and YouTube. I'm there, post the videos there, people find us. Because again, what people are searching for are answers to solutions. Well, solutions to problems. And when we're posting that, you know, generally speaking, you know, SEO does us fairly well. So.
That's great, man. That's great. The LinkedIn is how I originally found the first video I ever saw of yours was through LinkedIn. And then after that, I made sure to keep up on it because there was one where you had like 3 different characters, and then in the videos, Courtney's almost always playing the other character.
Right.
And it was hilarious to see you in your element like that. I think you were playing a guy with tattoos and long hair or something like that. And man, I was just cracking up the whole time.
And again, it's like the corniest, goofiest stuff that I could do, but you know, it's funny. You know, people like that. So yeah, I continue with it. But again, I really think it's coming down to kind of finding your tribe, right? The people who have your interests, man, wherever they are. You know, if that's Instagram, then you're on Instagram. You know, if it's on TikTok, then you're on TikTok. But for me, you know, most of the professionals that I deal with, a lot of them are on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is where I find kind of, you know, the people who are in the business right now, who are executing it, you know, from day to day, no matter what the circumstances. You know, we've got this pandemic going on. They're still out there executing. Those guys are on LinkedIn. People who are just getting started, you know, been in business for a year, 2 years, those folks are generally, you know, kind of on YouTube, right? Because they're searching for answers. And again, those are our 2 biggest platforms right there, LinkedIn and YouTube, social media in general.
Gotcha. Now, if you were to put and this, after talking about all this, I don't know if this question is even that answerable, but an average cost per video you make. I guess it would have to figure in all your time, the equipment you purchased, divided by weeks. I don't know if that's a good question or not.
I can't even put a number on that. You know, initially, right, it's hard to put a number on it, right? Because you have to say, you know, how much time did I spend on this? What equipment did I use? You know, how much did that equipment break down during this 15-minute session? You know, so it's hard to say. But what I will say is you can make this as inexpensive or as expensive as you want. Right. I think the most important thing for people who want to get into video to remember is it's about the story, right? People want to be able to connect with someone that they get, right? So I definitely feel if I were to try to go on camera and be someone other than I am, right? So, you know, your Les Browns of the world and Tim Robbins? Not Tim Robbins. What am I thinking? Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
So those guys, prolific speakers, man. I mean, you know, when you sit down and listen to them, it's like, wow, right? That's not me. I'm not going to be able to get on camera and do that. So that's not going to be my thing. So what I offer to the world is who I am, because there's never going to be another Courtney Sparkman. And that's what my mom said, right? So, so there will never be another Courtney Sparkman. So I give the world who I am with my silly sense of humor, and there will be people that connect with that. You know, so
have you seen people taken, I guess, a different tone and be just as successful? Do you need to have all of that humor to go along with it to be successful? What if I'm just not a funny guy?
Yeah, and that's exactly it. That's exactly it. I think you have to be an honest version of yourself. Period. If you're a funny guy, be that funny guy, because there are people out there who are going to like funny guys, right? If you're this huge intellectual, then let that shine, because there are people out there who love people who are huge intellectuals. If you're just, Joe Blow, then that's who you are on camera, right? Because again, assuming that you do have friends, right? There's some people out there who do like you, and they're going to be a lot more out there in the world. So just represent who you are. Absolutely.
Some good inspiration right there. Just side little personal story here. When we were starting to kick off these every week, these Chill with Gems, and I get kind of a little anxious, a little nervous, a little worked up. David and Candace told me, like, Jim, all you got to do is be you. That they're coming here to see you. Our clients all like you because you're you. So just be you, man. That's all you got to do. And it was just like this. That's all I have to do is be me? What? But I mean, it was such an eye opener, but a weight lifted, because, I was approaching it so much differently, thinking, I'm going to do it this way or do it this way. And when they said that, it was just like, holy cow, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, is just being me. That's amazing. But yeah, so you'll see a huge difference from the first few episodes that we did to where they gave me that advice. It was a totally different feel to the entire episode, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, because I think you're really good at this, because you're an extremely likable person. We've had a chance to interact in the real world, and I think you're an extremely likable person. I think you're funny. So when you said you were going to do this, I'm like, it's a success. It's going to hit the park. Done. And here we are.
Yeah. Well, man, thank you for those compliments. And actually, at this point in the episode, we do like to open it up to customer participation. So if anybody out there has any questions for Courtney related to this, any questions about his company, or you just want to pick the guy's brain in general, now is a perfect time to do that. So we'll go ahead and open it up. I'll give a little 8-second awkward moment of silence here to let people hopefully come on out with it.
I have a quick question, because I was dealing with a little person and missed it. Courtney, you said Adobe Premiere is what you want to upgrade to later. I missed which editing tool you use right now.
Right now, it's a program called ScreenFlow. And ScreenFlow is really for screencasting. So it allows you to record kind of what you do on your computer. And again, we're a software company.
Right.
So our trainings, we record, how the software works, us working it, and then put that out for training videos. But it actually has a fairly robust video editing suite built into it. So that's what I'm using right now. And it, does, most of the things that I wanted to do. But when you start getting to some of the higher end, slow motion and, that type of thing, and fading in, fading out with all the graphics, yeah, ScreenFlow doesn't do those things. Adobe Premiere Pro is what all the big time guys use.
So like the video that you did that Jim showed where you were at Tech Park, how did you do so many angles, so many different spots? Like you said, 15 minutes of footage. Did that one take you 15 minutes to set all that up and shoot that?
That's a great question. So what it gets back to is that script, right? That process. So what I sat down and did was wrote it out, when this person does this, the officer does this, the supervisor is going to do that. When the officer says this, the supervisor is going to say that. When the supervisor says this, the officer is going to say that. So now that you have this list, right, of what everybody's going to say, I shot all the takes with the security officer in a couple of minutes, because I said, well, he's going to say this, so I'm going to say that. Then he's supposed to act like this, so I need to act like that. and then change uniform, then shoot the portions where the supervisor is going to act and talk, and you shoot that. And then within the video editing software, you overlay those portions. So you cut the film, cut the video where the security officer is, pull in the video for the supervisor, have him talk. Then you cut that away, then you throw back in the security officer, and you kind of overlay those back and forth. And sometimes what you'll do is you'll have the voice just kind of hanging over. So what happens is you're looking at the security officer, but you're hearing the supervisor, right? That's because I've stripped the video of the supervisor away and just letting the audio play. So it's the supervisor audio on top of the picture of the security officer or the video of the security officer. So yeah, it's the same amount of time.
Is that a process that you enjoyed at the beginning, the editing, and then as time goes by, it gets kind of tiring? And I don't mean hours, I mean years. Or do you still pretty much enjoy it for the most part?
I love the editing process.
Yeah.
God, you know, I would do it more. But again, what happens is you start to look at time.
Yeah.
Right? So it's
If it's
8
worth
hours
it.
for me to edit this video. What else could I be doing with 8 hours?
Right.
Right? We're in the process of launching a brand new product. I could probably spend some time on that. And so again, I enjoy the editing process, but I realized that if I handed the video over and kind of the notes and the scripts to somebody else, that they could actually get the editing process done for me. Again, it won't be exactly how you envision it, but you know, they can get you 90, 95% of the way there. And that's kind of, you know, the way that we do it now.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
No, thank you.
Courtney, what about one of those times, or did you ever reach one of those points where you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's not working. I don't want to. Have you ever run into that kind of obstacle, or what other kind of obstacles have you run into and overcome with this?
You know what? I can say one of my superpowers is consistency, right? So that is just who I am, right? So when I sit down and say, hey, for the next year, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. For the next year, I'm gonna sit down and do X, Y, and Z. So, right, it's not, I remember days, you know, I just don't want to get up and shoot this video. But I said I was gonna do one a week, so I gotta get up and shoot it. So that has never been really a challenge to me because, you know, I'm just kind of built that way. Once I commit to doing something, I'm going to get it done. So that was never a challenge. You know, I know what writer's block is now, though. I can say that much. So I've done some videos where it's just like, I don't even know what this is, but I got to put it out, right? So that can be a challenge, absolutely. But no, I mean, there are always going to be challenges in being creative. And I'm just not a creative guy. That's just not me. You know, music and videos and art and blah, blah, blah. That's not me at all. But, you know, right now it has to be. So I just committed to doing it.
That's surprising to hear you say you're not a creative guy.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. So, you know, in creative in the sense of, you know, art, music, and this painting and this Van Gogh, man, what is that? Mona, what? No, just not me. I mean, I would really, what I like creating in life, I like creating businesses, products, you know, so I don't know if that counts, but yeah.
It counts. Yeah. I think that's what I like to, you know, when I hear my family or friends always, you know, I'm just not creative. I'm not a creative person. Well, it's like you're creative just in your own way, you know. So my mom, she's a nurse. She's creative in her field. She's creative when it comes to working with, she's a head nurse, so she gets creative with working with her staff. She gets creative with how she approaches all of her patients. Because she told me that like last year, and I was like, Mom, you're super successful at what you do. You are creative. It's just in a different way. You know, my little brother can play the bassoon and do all this music stuff, and that's not us. We're creative in our own ways. David's creative in building these intricate systems and making them flow just really smooth. Yeah. So I like that way of approaching it, definitely.
That is a good point. That is a good point. That is a good point. I guess, always go back to, so another quick story here. When I was in grammar school, I thought I was going to grow up to be an artist. I drew all the time. Oh, I'm an artsy guy. Got to high school, failed the drawing entrance exam for drawing class or art class, crushed me. Never picked up a pencil again.
Oh, no.
So yeah, I guess I don't call myself a creative person. I take that back to the art instructor back at Quigley South. All his fault. All his fault.
Yeah, devastating. But yeah, you're creative in your own way, creating companies, creating the software that seems to just help, be a solution. You're a solution provider. So
Yeah.
really good, really good. So anybody else out there got anything that they'd like to ask or bring up while we have you out all in the audience? Is there any Facebook questions out there, David?
No, we don't have any right now.
Okay. So filming, editing, ideas, you're thinking if it's 8 to 12 hours of editing, are we putting these videos at like 15 hours total, probably, from concept to writing the script to filming?
Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds about right. And again, it's something that I truly enjoy. And for a year and a half, maybe even 2, that's where my weekends went. Right. So you work your Monday through Friday on the software and with your team. Then on the weekends, it got to be my creative time. Right. So got up on Saturday morning, would go to the office or find some other location to go film. It's the transportation of the equipment and the setup and people looking at you like, what are you doing? Are you pressed? Getting shot, getting thrown out of places. Because you're not supposed to be filming there. So it's that, then you bring it back home and then you sit down at the editing booth and you start to edit, because I think the editing portion of this is where the real story is created, right? Because you've got 15 minutes, call it 20 minutes of video. Within that 15 or 20 minutes of video, depending on how you cut it up, what goes in, what goes out, it can kind of tell a different story, right? So, and again, that portion of the storytelling, it's really enjoyable. It is absolutely enjoyable.
I think that's the part too where you can get that perfectionist can get the best of you.
Oh my
with
God.
Editing, because I've done it before, or just picking out the right picture out of my 200 pictures I took in Costa Rica, and I have 10 of exactly the same picture, except for this a little different angle, or maybe the wave of the ocean is doing a little bit more of a curl. There goes 45 minutes of my day because I'm like, which one is better? And oh, but this one has a little different lighting. So I think
it's that and sound design. So that's the other big thing. When I'm doing videos, I will literally spend an hour trying to find the right music. Right? It's like literally an hour. So I use this website called Epidemic Sound. Hey, they need to cut me a check now. But so I use this website called Epidemic Sound. It's hundreds, thousands, maybe millions of songs, a lot of good stuff. So you sit and you listen, and part of the time you're jamming, the other part it's like, okay, let me get back to work, right? So that part is a lot of fun. That part is a lot of fun. But yeah, it's in the editing, and it's just those little itty bitty tweaks. Well, and when it comes down to video, I think I cut that video off a half a second too late. Let me do something different. So no, it can be a real beast.
Courtney, we have a question here from our friend Todd Lowery. He's asking, do you think that the strategy of injecting humor would apply to all businesses? And I like this question because I've had this discussion with other tech companies before, and what I find is a lot of times tech companies take themselves a little bit too seriously, and they are reluctant to use humor do you think that maybe in some cases you really need to stay away from the humor, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think people want to connect with other people, right? So they aren't looking to connect with a tech company. They aren't looking to connect with IBM. They're looking to get a face to that brand, right? And it's a lot easier connecting with someone that you like. You know, if I find you humorous, I like you. You make me laugh, you're in the door, right? So if you look at our particular industry, you know, security guard companies, there's nothing funny about security guard companies, right? I mean, a lot of these guys are ex-law enforcement, ex-military, retired generals, colonels, very serious, pragmatic people who've seen a lot of bad things, right? So when you think about, you know, someone who's retired from the military, the Air Force, is, you know, full bird colonel, you don't think of somebody who's funny, right? Because on the job, they're probably not really funny, right? But at the same time, he or she is a person. And when they find your company, you want them to connect with your company. It's not just this passing transactional relationship that you want. I just want to show you some information and not making any type of impact in your life. No, I want to connect with you, right? So I think humor connects people, right? Again, if you're not Tony Robbins, use your humor. Use humor. So I would say that, you know, trying to stay away from humor, and again, I guess kind of depends on the platform, right? So if it's just instructional videos, short, sweet, to the point, but if it is truly meant to get people into the top of the funnel, right, connecting to your company, I would definitely not hesitate to use humor at all. I think it's a good question.
Yeah, thanks, Todd. That was a great question. Doing my awkward pause.
8-second pause.
Yeah. I think I cut it off too soon, but it's extremely hard for me to do that. Well,
We did I couldn't take it anymore either, Jim. We did post Courtney's YouTube site there, so with everyone again joining in from YouTube, you ought to see a huge bump, Courtney. I would expect, you know, definitely in the 6 figures and subscriptions here in the next 24 hours or so. Todd, what's that?
Bring it on. Bring it on.
Todd, that's a great question. We didn't really get into it. So do you want to ask Courtney your question there?
Sure, Courtney. What type of metrics do you follow, or do you use to track the success of the posts that you put out on social media? How do you know you're being successful in connecting to your customer?
You know, that's actually a really good question, Todd. So I do not do the best job of tracking. So, you know, monthly we check to see how many new subscribers that we've added, the total number of minutes watched. And so we do look at some metrics, but I can honestly say we don't use those metrics to kind of determine what our next steps are. Right? Because again, YouTube, social media, you can be very analytical and scientific with those numbers. Yeah, we just haven't gotten that far yet, right? So I still don't think we've made a big enough impact in the industry where we can really start to look at that and say, okay, based on, you know, what we've been able to see thus far, oh, we're good, right? So we get, I want to say last number I saw was 50,000 or 60,000 viewed minutes on our YouTube channel, which, you know, is a decent number, but, you know, it's not like we've got 1 million subscribers, right? So I still think, you know, that subset is probably still too small. But what it really comes down to is I don't have the time. Let's just be honest here. Let's just be honest. Don't have the time, but yeah, we do monitor them a little bit.
all right. Good question, Todd. Good question. Well, I think this has been an amazing and fun, very educational Chill with Jim episode. Courtney, we really appreciate you coming on and sharing some of the secrets you have. I mean, I know one of the biggest things right now with the pandemic that I see are companies have to be more creative with how they reach new clients, especially. You can't go knocking on someone's door. You can't just show up. You don't know what their policies are. You don't know if you're just going to be making them upset.
Are they there?
Cold calling. What?
Are they there?
Are they there? Are they there? The cold calling thing is still in play, but what we found, at least with these video marketing, podcasts, whatever it is you can create a warm touch with a lot of people. So if you get your face out there, you get your name out there, all of a sudden people will at least know you from some other place than you're just calling them up randomly. So I think it's very important for all of our listeners out there to realize, like, this is a great format, a great method to reach new people. When we're in the constraints of our house, we can find new and creative ways to do it. And if that means just starting with your iPhone, like you talked about, getting some promotional videos out there, maybe some how-to videos, it's a big step. The progress might be a little slow, but eventually this stuff starts catching on. We've seen it with, Brad was one of the ones who continues to come and join these episodes, and he found it through an online podcast that David did, and then he got interested in this, and then you kind of see this snowballing effect. And so we think it's very important for all of our all the people out there to really consider doing more with video and social media. But most of all, thank you everybody who joined us, all of our Facebook watchers out there too. We do appreciate it. David, did you want to just go ahead and touch a little bit on next week's episode?
Yeah, so next week, we've got Labor Day coming up, so everybody will hopefully have a day off, and I'm sure everyone is dealing with back to school and the craziness that's causing. So we wanted to provide a little humor next week. We're going to go over some funny stories, maybe some funny cybersecurity stories, some tales from tech support. Courtney, you might want to join that one. I bet you have some interesting ones too. So yeah, that's what we'll be discussing next week. There's a link there in the chat. So we invite everybody to register, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
All right. And Courtney, is there any additional details you wanted to throw out there? Or let's say someone wants to get in contact with you. How do they do that? What's the easiest way for them to engage with you?
Yeah, great question. They can find us on just about every social media channel. So if you're on IG, you can find us at Officer Reports, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. We're out there. Or you can just go to our website at officerreports.com to find out a little bit more about the company. Or if you've got questions about this whole video thing, I'd be more than happy to help out.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you again, everybody, for coming out. Visit us on our YouTube channel as well. Give us a like, a follow, a share. We greatly appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Any of those who are going to join us next week, if you have some funny stories, if they're about you, you don't have to admit that they're about you. You can just say it was your friend John who used to do this, who clicked on the wrong email or got a phone call and let people into their computer. It doesn't have to be you, but bring those funny stories. We'd love to engage with you. And it's the same chill time, the same chill channel. Next week, we'll see you all there. We appreciate it very much for all the support.
Hey, thanks.
Thanks for being here, Courtney.
Thanks, Courtney.
I'll catch you guys later. Thanks again.
Bye. Adios.